The first thing is the domain of thought. There's a constant in to out, from us to the outer world, and then from the outer world to us. There's a constant interchange going on, way too quick and way too swift and almost all the time, which also means that, let's say, if I'm interacting with situations, there are many situations I'm part of. If they are thinking about me and I'm doing something else, it'll end up as certain thoughts inside me and would trigger certain responses inside. So things are happening this fast. And so this is the first thing to remember, is that what's going on inside, as we all know this, what's going on inside us is not really stuff. It's coming from outside, it's coming from our past, it's coming from our memories. There are karmic stuff that, circulates within us. And then they go for manifestation. Okay, so there was a line that I read some time back from, I think from Record of the Yoga, where Sri Aurobindo is doing his own practices, and he, if I recall from memory, he lets the thoughts dart out into the world or something of that sort. And that phrase caught my attention, because initially I was always looking at thought as an intrusion. I was trying to work on it. But here I noticed some other description, thoughts darting out into the world. And then I realized this particular, let's say, I could use the word importance of thought. There's another faculty of thought where the thought connects, we are connecting. So for example, there's a particular situation one is part of, and you could be sitting in another corner of the world, but as your thoughts go to the situation, it's making a contact. It's making a tangible contact with the environment, with the people, with the situation. And as it contacts, something from here goes there, something from there comes in. So it's an actual contact. Okay, so, and thus the responsibility becomes quite huge for us to really look at it. What can we do about this? So one of the functions of thoughts is that there is a connection that is established, which means that constantly we are connecting. And at least three things are inside the thought. One is there is the aspect of light. Okay, so you could call it intention, you could call it knowledge or whatsoever. There's an aspect of light inside the thought. There's an aspect of consciousness or force inside the thought. What is inside it? What is the quality inside it? There's an aspect of will also within the thought. I'll give you an example. There are times when let's say, for example, each of us have our pluses, each of us have our limitations. One of my major limitations that I've been struggling over the years is I give up. Okay, there's a tendency of giving up, which is there from maybe karmic unconscious levels or whatsoever. So there are times when I'm working on something, and let's say a thought pulls me to a situation, and that again increases inside me. So now that could come from my past, but could also come from the situations that I'm dealing with. There are certain situations you're dealing with where you're challenging somebody or they're challenging you. Now, in such cases, there could be, let's say, an anger from somebody else that shows up inside the thought as a particular will. And it hits our own untransformed stuff. So the commerce of thought between us and the others, at least three things are getting transferred: the light, the knowledge, the consciousness or the force, and the will. It is constantly interchanging like that, microsecond by microsecond. Our attempt today, and so it's like, I'll be repeating the practices in this. We'll be taking a few practices and then we'll again and again and explore and see how it comes, is to actually build a capacity to work that fast on our thoughts. And as far as I understand, we have to work fast, like in a sense, like that particular instance that I shared was just 3-4 minutes of weak movement, which caused something extremely dear. So when these things are moving in, from the outer world in and out, there's an anger in us. There could be an ill will that moves from us to the outside, us to outside to in. There could be a will of nourishment that could transfer. So we want to really bring light to this mechanism of thought that happens within us. All right. Okay. So the practice which I would like us to explore, and sometimes it's difficult when we do these processes, because sometimes when we do these processes, thoughts become less, but we'll try and work with this phenomenon. There are 4 different things I would like us to look at, So Let's say there is a situation happening. Let's say you're working in an organization or something of that sort, and you are facilitating certain changes. Let's just take a situation like that. So which means you're working with people. There are some people who are inspired, some people are not inspired, a classic situation like this. So when we place our attention on the situation, okay, so I'm working with this faculty of thought of connecting first, okay? Then we will talk about what's happening inside, okay? So when I'm connecting to a situation, I'm connecting to it, there is a reality that is there. There's a particular reality that is there, okay? Now, there is, so my thought, through my thought, with my awareness, I'm connecting the situation. There's a particular reality that is there. And then thoughts start rotating inside me. I'm picking the reality inside me. But apart from this, there's also perceptions. Okay, there's perceptions of people, there's conversations of people about something. And at some point, these perceptions are closer to the truth. At some points, they are closer to the falsehood. Okay. So there is a reality, there are perceptions, and then my thoughts are rotating. Okay, so there's a reality, and then my thoughts are rotating. There are perceptions there also. Now, this is how we normally work. Okay? And then we have the domain of intuition. So there's something that's guiding us. Okay? There's something that's guiding us, which tells us, let's say, for example, we're looking at a situation. What do we focus on? What is true there? How we should move? There's an intuition faculty. That's a third. And the fourth is, most of the time we forget, but we can hold a conscious vision or a conscious intent. So for example, that let there be a collective transformation. Okay. Now that is a conscious intent. There's a conscious vision. So once I explain this in each of our lives, I want us to explore this. So there are four things here. One is, if I put my attention on any situation, there's a reality that is there. Reality and perceptions. Okay. Reality and perceptions. Second is, my thoughts start rotating around it. Okay. And there are conversations which I'll come later. Let's just go very simple first. There's a reality and perceptions. Then my thoughts are opening up, rotating around it. I have the domain of intuition coming in, and there is a vision that I can consciously hold, which is the highest possible, and I can hold it in an impersonal way. The practice I want us to explore is these four need to be in sync. Okay, they need to have a certain level of alignment. When it is not in alignment, a lot of errors occur. Okay, so for example, that I'm focusing on the situation, I'm picking a reality, there are perceptions, my thoughts are rotating. My intuition is saying something, but I get latched on to some perception. I start talking about it. Then I move away. I do something which is not so great, for example. So the practice is, I want us to, it's very difficult to do these practices because it's so subtle, but we'll try. At any point of time, what I'm discovering is, if these four are aligned, somewhat we are navigating with the truth. Somewhat we are becoming instruments. Like, can we use thought as a way to become a perfect instrument to manifest the vision in the reality? This is what we're going to focus for today. Okay. Can we become a perfect instrument to manifest that vision in the reality over a period of time? For that, the recommendation is these four need to be in sync internally within you. It's an internal exercise. It has to be in sync internally within you all the time. And when it is deviating, we keep kind of using this as a way to come back to alignment. So actually, you're seeing reality extended, like you're sitting here, you're connecting with the office. You're sitting here, you're connecting to the situation. And if you're rather very quiet, you actually enter the space. You actually enter the building. You actually enter the premises. And you can actually do some profound transformative work. That's what we are attempting. We do the opposite often. Let's say we're in a conflict or things are not going okay. We think of the situation, we enter it, our reactions build in, we get angry, we get mixed, and that affects the situation also. It's like a direct transfer. Instead, we want to consciously transform the situation.